Hello and welcome to the in-depth series section of Drishti IAS. I am Aisha Singh, and in today's video we will be discussing about the DNA regulation bill that has recently been withdrawn in the Lok Sabha. So let us first understand the timeline. First we'll be looking at the news, then about what is DNA technology use and application regulation bill, what are its features and what are the issues related to it because of which it has been withdrawn. Then what is the government stand on it? In the end, prelims MCQ and mains practice question. Topic is of relevance from General Studies paper 3, that is biotechnology, and also important from government policies perspective. From exam perspective, knowing about the features of the bill is important and what are the issues related to it. So the news has been taken from Indian Express and it says Centre withdraws DNA bill. What it says and what are the objections against it. So the DNA regulation bill, which has been going on or which was in news since a long period of time, now has recently been withdrawn, and the monsoon session has started of the parliament. So in the monsoon session, the Lok Sabha has withdrawn the DNA regulation bill, and it is the DNA technology use and application regulation bill to 2019, and the bill was first proposed in the year 2003. So since 2003 the bill has been in news, and in 2023 in the Lok Sabha session it has been withdrawn, and till now the bill has gone through numerous changes, and this numerous changes has been led by both the Department of Biotechnology and the Law Ministry over the years. And the reason that has been given for the withdrawal of the bill is that the bill could be misused to target segments of society based on religion, caste and political views. So it has been said that this DNA technology regulation bill can be misused against a particular section of the society. So this is what has been given the reason for the withdrawal of the bill. So now let us look at the DNA technology use and application regulation bill 2019. Then the bill seeks to create a regulatory framework. Till now there was no regulatory framework when we talk about the DNA technology. So till now there was no regulatory framework in picture, but now that this bill has also been withdrawn, so we can say that till now there is no regulatory framework when we talk about the DNA technology. Then the bill seeks to create a regulatory framework about obtaining, storing and testing DNA samples of human beings. So the DNA samples of human beings, so every human has a DNA, and DNA contains the hereditary characters of a person. So that is the deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it has the hereditary character of every single human being. So when we talk about the DNA samples of human beings and about how the DNA samples of human beings would be obtained, then how they will be stored and how they will be tested. Obtaining, storing and then testing of the humans DNA samples, a regulatory framework is not in picture that how it is to be done. Then the purpose of the DNA technology bill was about criminal investigations, to use humans DNA samples in criminal investigations so that a repository of the criminals can be prepared and can be stored at one stand. And the objective is establishing the identity of a person, as the DNA contains many revealing characters of a human. Many of the information about a human being can be obtained from his or her DNA. So establishing the identity of a person becomes easy if the DNA of a person can be extracted. And then DNA testing is already being used for a variety of purposes, such as criminal investigation, establishment of parentage and search for missing people. So these are few of the aspects in which DNA testing has already been permitted, that is in criminal investigations, then establishment of parentage, that about the children and the parent. Search for missing people. But this is not that every single person can go and ask for the DNA sampling of these people. It needs certain kind of procedure that needs to be followed, and the permission has to be granted that the DNA samples of the person needs to be obtained. Then the proposed law seeks to bring in a supervisory structure to oversee these practices, because till now there was no regulatory framework. So a regulatory framework was supposed to be created and was proposed to be created by this bill, but now it has been withdrawn, so that won't be happening, at least for now. Then, and frame guidelines and rules so that the DNA technology is not misused. And misuse of DNA technology is the biggest concern for the withdrawal of this bill, because DNA is a very sensitive topic, because DNA can actually, the problem that is also arising is about the right to privacy under Article 21. So that right to privacy is a fundamental right, and if the misuse of DNA takes place, the misuse of human DNA takes place, then many characters of the person and much of the information of the human being would be revealed, and this will lead to the violation of the right to privacy, which is a fundamental right. So guidelines needs to be framed that how this would be used and how effectively and efficiently this can be used, and how the misuse of the DNA would be prevented. Now let's talk about what are the features of the bill. Then the bill proposes to set up two institutions at the national level. This is talking about at the national level, and the two institutions that were supposed, or they were proposed to be set up, first is the DNA Regulatory Board, that how the DNA would be regulated. A board would be set up to regulate DNA. And second is the DNA Data Bank, that how the DNA would be stored. So the two regulatory or the institutional structures were DNA Regulatory Board and the DNA Data Bank. And apart from this, there was regional centers of the DNA Regulatory Board would also set up, as the data bank can be set up at the state level too. So at the national level, it was two, DNA Regulatory Board and DNA Data Bank. And at the state level, regional centers can also be set up. So there is difference between national level and state level. Then the board would be the main regulatory authority. The DNA Regulatory Board would be the main regulatory authority which will frame the rules and guidelines for DNA collection, testing and storage. And that is how things would take place. And that is why it is the regulatory board. It will regulate about the collection, how the DNA would be collected, then how the testing will be done and how they will be stored. This will be the responsibility of the DNA Regulatory Board. But now that the bill has been withdrawn, this is not going to happen, at least as of now. Then about the data bank, the responsibility of the data bank would be that it will be the repository of all DNA samples collected from various people under specified rules. All the DNA that will be collected from all the people would be stored at the DNA Data Bank. And that is why it is called bank. What is the meaning of the word bank? Bank means storage of something, keeping something at one single place. So that is why it has been given the responsibility of repository, that is keeping things at a particular place. And then testing will be done at the laboratories which will be authorized by the regulatory board. Only at the laboratories which has been given the authorization by the regulatory board. It is not that any person can go anywhere and the testing can be done. No, that will not be the case. And it also specifies the circumstances under which a person can be asked to submit DNA samples, because on every single occasion and anyone cannot ask to the person that the person has to give his or her DNA samples. Those are specific circumstances under which the person would be asked to give his or her DNA samples. and few of the occasions would be that the purposes for which such requests can be made, and exact procedure for handling, storing and assessing these samples will also be told. And the DNA samples can be asked in the case of, we have just now seen, criminal investigation, in the case of child and parents, missing persons and etc. Then what are the issues with the bill, that why the bill has been withdrawn? Then there are mainly three issues which has been given. First and foremost, I've already told you that the aspect of the misuse of the bill against certain sections of the society, which can be based on religion, caste, creed, etc. First, whether DNA technology is foolproof or not. Then whether the privacy of the individual is protected or not under Article 21, right to privacy. Whether the provisions adequately address the possibility of abuse of DNA information. This is where the problem lies, abuse of DNA information. If for a chance the information goes out and the misuse of the information takes place, then what? This will lead to many other problems also. And that is where the right to privacy aspect also comes into the picture. Then DNA information can be extremely revelatory. It can reveal a lot about the physical and biological attributes of the person. For example, eye, hair or skin color, susceptibility to diseases, whether the person is suffering from any kind of disease or not, what is the medical history of the person, everything can be revealed, and possible clues to biological relatives also. And that is why misuse of the DNA needs to be taken care of. Then violative of a person's privacy, and bill is very technical, complex and sensitive. Because if the information goes out, then it is not that one person's information would be revealed. From one DNA, we can actually take out the information about many other things and many other aspects also, and also about the persons related to the person whose DNA has been extracted. Then target different segments of our society based on factors like religion, caste or political views, as I've told you in the starting also. So these are few of the issues with the bill, and because of which the bill has been withdrawn as of now, and it will be looked upon. Now what the government is saying about the bill, that the government was in favor of this bill, and they have said that nearly 60 countries around the world have enacted the similar kind of legislation, and all important matters related to privacy, confidentiality and data protection have been taken into account. This is what the government stand is, that they are saying that proper measures have been taken to stop or to minimize the misuse of the DNA. Then very limited information is proposed to be stored in the indices. In our DNA samples, billions and billions of DNAs are present, and the government is saying that out of those billions, only a minimal set of DNAs would be taken out. It is not that every single DNA would be taken care of. That very limited information is proposed to be stored in the indices. Just 17 sets of numbers out of billions that DNA samples can reveal. So it is not that every DNA would be taken care of. They are saying that just 17 sets of numbers would be taken care of, and they will not reveal every single information about the individual. So this was about the government stand. Now in the end, it's time for the prelims MCQ, and you people need to tell me the answer in the comment section. And the question says, which among the following are features of the DNA Technology Use and Application Regulation Bill 2019? First, it set up two institutional structures, a DNA Regulatory Board and a DNA Data Bank at state level. Second, DNA Data Bank would frame the rules and guidelines for DNA collection. And the codes given are 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. We have discussed both these points. You should be able to answer this one. Now moving on to the mains practice question. You have to write it in 250 words and do your answer writing practice. And the question says, and it is a typical question, you need to understand it nicely. Organized crime cannot be successfully fought without a close watch of suspects. but surveillance cannot infringe the fundamental right to personal liberty. Analyze the statement in the context of the DNA Technology Regulation Bill 2019. So you have to understand this statement that organized crime cannot be successfully fought without a close watch of suspect. This is what is saying, that organized crime, to stop it, we need to do something. But surveillance cannot infringe the fundamental right to personal liberty. But in the name of surveillance, you cannot infringe anyone's fundamental right to liberty. So you have to talk about it, or talk about this statement in light of DNA Technology Regulation Bill. First of all, write about the statement. What do you understand of the statement firstly? Then talk about the DNA Technology Regulation Bill. Then talk about the how the crime can be stopped and what role can the regulation bill play in it. And in the end, a conclusion. So try to do your answer writing practice, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time, keep reading and keep writing.